Welcome, I'm John Seburn, Executive Director here at the Hagerstown Aviation Museum, and today we're looking at Fairchild 24s.
AOPA keeps flying safe, accessible, and fun by protecting your freedom to fly. We are the most trusted one-stop resource for all things related to general aviation. Become an AOPA pilot today.
We have several in the collection here in Hagerstown. The first one we have is one of the very first Fairchild 24s ever built, and it was based on the Fairchild Model 22, which came right before it. The Model 22 was an open cockpit plane. The 24, they widened the 22 fuselage, had two side-by-side seats, and enclosed the whole cockpit. So this is one of the first enclosed cabin planes, they called them. This has a Warner radio engine and wooden prop, and also it's all steel tube fuselage, and the wings are all wood also, like some of the others, and everything's covered in fabric. So back in the 1920s, 1930s, all the airports were mostly grass fields at the time. So the Fairchild 22 and the 24 have very wide landing gear. They have struts that extend quite far. So when you come into land, sometimes you don't even know that you touch the ground and you just settle in and land. Behind me here today in our collection is a 1939 Fairchild 24R9. And what is unique about the Fairchild 24, in the late 1930s, it became, like they called it, the Cadillac of the sky. This was the business jet of the 1930s. So the movie stars had it, and all the leaders of business would fly Fairchild 24s. People were, I think, getting tired and cold of flying in open cockpit airplanes, so they built an enclosed cabin plane, and they called it the Fairchild Model 24. Throughout the 1930s, they did improvements on the Fairchild 24, increased the horsepower, the sort of creature comforts in the cockpit. The 1939 Fairchild 24, it has a six-cylinder inverted Ranger engine. And this is something that Fairchild, who owned the Ranger Engine Company, developed in the 1930s. And those engines went on to power the PT-19s and many of the World War II trainers of that time. But it's steel tube fuselage, fabric covered, and the wings are made totally out of wood, all the frame and all the ribs, and they're covered in fabric. So it's basically a tube and fabric and wooden fabric construction. Cruises around 100 miles an hour, so it's sort of like you're riding in a classic car up in the sky. And you can even wind down the side windows and stick your arm out, and even the door handles are from cars from the late 1930s. So it really is like you're riding in an old classic car of that time. In 1941-42, when we entered World War II, the Civil Air Patrol actually bought this aircraft and used it to hunt for German U-boats out in the Atlantic Ocean. When World War II broke out, 1941, Fairchild was already building the PT-19 trainer. It was a monoplane, two open cockpits, and they were building literally thousands of PT-19s to train the pilots for World War II. At the same time, they took their civilian model Fairchild 24 and turned it into a military aircraft like we have here today. They called it the UC-61, and this has a Warner radio engine, wooden propeller. Again, it's all steel tube fuselage, wood wings with cloth covering over the fuselage and the wings. So they were used mainly for like liaison work, hauling VIPs around, and many of these ended up going to England through the Lend-Lease program. So there are very few of the Fairchild 24 military versions that we know of left in this country, and we're just happy to have one here. This is also one that you can take a ride in when we have our events in the summertime. We do rides in our UC-61 and our PT-19.